So, what do you think the role of businesses are? Say a large business, a Microsoft or an Apple, like, are they a factor? Should they be thinking of their strategy as predicting and adapting to what's already happening or what's going to happen? Or should they try to influence the direction?
They should try to influence the direction. So this is a big takeaway, I think, from my own work, my own writing. What is economic statecraft? What are sanctions? What are tariffs? What are industrial policies? What they are is they're the government trying to affect the incentive structures of businesses to achieve a national goal, right? So normally businesses, they have a pretty straightforward incentive structure. Let's make as much money as possible, maximize shareholder value, right? Well, the government can come in and say, well, it might be the profit maximizing strategy for you to buy oil from Russia. But if you do that, we're going to fine you an astronomical amount of money, and it's going to wipe out your entire profit for the year. And so if the government does that, you're affecting the calculus of a private sector actor, right? And that's all sanctions are, right? The US government doesn't actually freeze anyone's assets. The US government doesn't block ships from going to one country or the next. They just change the incentive structure of businesses. I think that what businesses should do, especially if you're a company that's operating in a sector where the sanctions or tariffs are affecting your business, you don't want to be in a situation where some sort of sanctions policy comes down that's terrible for your business and you're scrambling to Washington to explain to policymakers who know nothing about your industry why they totally mess things up for you. What you want to be doing is engaging upstream of that. You want to be talking to policymakers, not just advocating for yourself, your industry, but really trying to understand what they're trying to achieve. What are their objectives vis-a-vis China? What are their objectives vis-a-vis Russia? How does your industry figure into that strategy? And how can you educate policymakers about how executives in your industry think? Because I think if you do that, you're much less likely to get some sort of policy coming out of Washington or Brussels or whatever that you're engaging with that is totally asinine. I think it's very important for businesses today, chief strategy officers, whether if you have a chief geopolitical officer, to really engage with these topics and go beyond lobbying to really like having, just sharing conversations with government officials. Exactly.
Yeah.